cartel. That's 6,000 shillings. They are given a receipt of 1,000 Kenya shillings.
So 5,000.
Now that happens at a place called Sia for the trucks ferrying sand on the side of Mwini. Now, from here, there is another checkpoint at Kanyonyo where county government officials are based. And when the trucker arrives at the base, they show the receipt of 1,000, just demonstrate the receipt of 1,000, and they're allowed to proceed. They don't pay any cess to the county government of Kitui. So the bitterness, the chairman, with the people of Kitui that I carry on my shoulders, is that we are building all the cities in this country, beginning with this one.
Correct.
I actually want to believe that more than 70% of the sand that was used to build this building came from Kitui County. So we are building cities with our sand. We are not getting a single cent as a county from that sand. And most worrying is that we are turning rivers, and I say the governor can correct me if I'm wrong, we are turning our county into a desert with every truck that ferries that sand. Because what they do is, they come to the river, they scoop all the sand, all of it, until they get to the base of the river. It's bare soil, actually soil and rocks. And they move to the next river. As we speak today, Kitui has been classified as one of the drought areas. When the rains disappeared in December, by now, if we still add the sand in our rivers, our mother will still be fetching water from our rivers. Now, they can't. There is no sand, there is nothing. That is the picture, Chairman, that we have to deal with.
No.
And I say if I'm wrong, the governor can correct me.
I think let's bring it back to the conversation we are having here. We have numbers in front of us, but we also cannot run away from other things where we take judicial notice. In fact, Senator Wambua, you brought another dimension that Kitui is facing drought. And that's a serious humanitarian crisis that we must find a way of tying these numbers to the response that the governor is making to help the lives of the people of Kitui. So let's come back to the numbers, and it's a very sorry state you have painted. Of course, Governor, we must give you a right of reply to put the record straight. So I don't know whether we want the governor to reply or we first
maybe I can
put in
make
some
an
questions.
observation.
Senator Cherargei.
So in this 15.6 million on transport charges, these are how many trucks and tonnage? Because they are saying it's based on tonnage. Number one, Chair. Chair, there is somebody who lives at Mulolongo and just informed me that he sees more than 100 trucks per day, mostly from Kitui. Chair, I want to believe this is a well-organized criminal enterprise of cartels.
Sure, I'm just wondering like, how does a truck that is coming from Kitui look like? I mean,
of course, I've told you 70%.
Just that's what I want you to help me out. How does a truck from Kitui look different from one from Machakos?
I have not finished here. I'm talking with somebody who works in the wage break of Mulolongo.
Okay.
And they can track because they normally tell them.
We have agencies that can establish
yes, that is the point at Mulolongo.
Yeah.
He says more than 100 come from Kitui. So, Chair, when you tell me it is only 15.6 million transport charges, it doesn't make sense. So, Chair, I think in all this issue of sand, this is a well-organized criminal enterprise that looks like narcos. Thank you, Chair. Yield back.
Senator,
because he has mentioned the way bridge, Chair, I would want to request you to compel, because we have a way bridge. So that these are not stories, we have a way bridge at Kanyonyo. And I say it on record. They can challenge me.
Yes.
I believe some of the operators there are part of this cartel. I've been there more than 10 times. I've written letters to them to give me the list of trucks, so that we also answer Sifuna's question. The list of trucks that are coming from Kitui ferrying sand and the tonnage of those trucks. They have completely refused to divulge that information.
Senator Lelegwe.
Governor, you have budgeted 50 million for that particular financial year in your budget for sales. But At the end of the year, you're reporting 19% of what you targeted. Why did you budget for 50 million? And the reasons why you're saying you did not achieve your target is because you did not have Kitui County Sand Harvesting Management Act. Why did you budget 50 million where you knew very well that you did not have the act in place? Because from your responses, you've just said you did not achieve that target because you did not have the act. So why did you budget? And just to note, Chair, says as a single source of revenue is the poorest performing in your county.
So I think we need to give the governor an opportunity to respond and broad issues, but what's coming out is there's a feeling from the members of the committee that there could be a cartel in Kitui County that is either collecting cess and not reporting or not collecting cess at all, thereby denying the people of Kitui the revenue that would have been in your hands to enable you to respond to the drought situation in Kitui. Because you have an unprecedented situation where animals are dying, lives are at risk, children, perhaps their education is threatened, and you need resources to respond. And this collection of cells could be one of those areas, low-hanging fruits, which if optimized could put resources in your hands. So Governor, could you let us know whether the cartelism that has been alluded to is a reality and whether you need any help to crack it?
Mr. Chairman, I was elected to office in August 2022. As I was seeking votes from the people of Kitui, one of the things they were telling me to address when they elect me, and they seem to be so sure they will elect me, is the menace of haphazard sand harvesting from the rivers. So this issue is not yesterday's issue, it was there. And when we came in, together with the MCAs, we said, this is an issue where dealing with it is not easy. If you recall, Mr. Chairman, because you're still Senator here and some of the members here were still here, my predecessor, the governor of Kitui, she tried to deal with this issue, even in some cases at trying to arrest lorries, and she was not successful. Because the responsibility of enforcing who is transporting anything on our highways belongs to the police, and the police is not under the county government. So that's when we resolved to come up with a law which can be enforced by a county court which we have established and which is provided for in the law Senator Sifuna was talking about. We have created a mechanism for enforcement. We have created, through that law, a mechanism for monitoring the sand harvesting and making sure as sand is being harvested, conservation takes place. And what we have done is going forward after the cooperatives which are supposed to manage sand harvesting in river basins, and we have 5 of them, they establish sand aggregation points where people who want sand from Nairobi or other places, they will get the sand from the aggregation points. And smaller operators who are Kitui-based, probably they can go with smaller lorries, not the big ones, and bring the sand at the aggregation point where it is collected together. And that way, the county will be able to have a structured way of assessing who is coming for sand, how much is collected, and be able to charge and to receipt it. At the moment, there is what previously, there is what Senator KITU talked about, where you have groups, CBOs, which were there before, and they will charge 6,000. They collect themselves. It's not collected by the county government, but I would like the receiver of revenue and the chief of the finance and even director of revenue to confirm whether they themselves are the ones who collect the 6,000, which has been mentioned, and who gives the 1,000 receipts and so forth and so on. So that is the environment which we are trying to reorganize and ensure there is a proper order with respect to sand collection and the revenue arising from the same, and conservation at the same time. What we have established, the county government of KITU is not the one which collects the 6,000 or any employee of ours. It is CBOs which existed before 2022 and before we put this act together and enacted it. And I think that's the situation. We are trying to bring order where there was a lot of disorder, and we realize unless we have a law which can regulate the space, they will still continue being confusion. Previously, those CBOs used to pay a lump sum for scooping sand in KITU County for a period, for a year. And that amount was a year variously 300,000 or some such figures. But now you can see order is coming into it, but it will take time. It cannot happen overnight. Going to what Senator Lelwenge was asking, why do we put in our budget 50 million while we ended up collecting much less? We did that because we hoped through implementation of the law which we enacted and creating order in the way even the revenue is collected, we'll be able to generate a lot more revenue. Obviously, we did not, because, for example, the court I'm talking about, we constructed it. It was to be operationalized. It has not been operationalized yet, but we hope it will be in the near future. And sooner than later, even people who get sand there and don't pay, they will start paying.
Yeah.
Senator Maruma.
The Director of Revenue talked about cooperatives, formation of cooperatives. Governor, you're referring to CBOs. So who is managing the sand? Is it the cooperatives or the CBOs? Number one, if it is cooperatives or CBOs, they will aggregate sand and sell that sand to the buyers. Of course, they'll make a living from there. Then there would be the transporters who would be paid, who would pay cess to the county government. Not so? So are you comfortable with the 5 trucks per day? That would be my question, because then we are told over a story of 100 trucks per day. But from the calculations, we are talking about, or we are seeing it's like 5 trucks in a day. That's what I would just want clarification. Is it CBOs or is it cooperatives which are aggregating the sand? And then when it is aggregated, then it is sold. And the county is getting money or revenue from the cess, isn't it? Whether it is from the CBO or from the cooperatives, but the transporters must pay cess. Are you comfortable with the 5 trucks?
Governor? And I think, Governor, just a disclaimer, I think from the chair and the members of my committee, we have a lot of respect for you by virtue of your professional background and qualifications. Even though in the last few minutes, you have focused on describing the problem rather than the solution. So we hope you'll, as you answer Senator Mwaruma, you'll also focus more on the solution because you've described the problem very well.
And as he answers, Chair, how is that revenue paid, the cess? Is it automated? So much so that if the trucks are paying between 10,000 and 2,000, depending on the truck, then you can see if it is automated, a statement of that payment, which you can track.
Governor?
The cess and the charges which are paid to the county are automated. So they are not collected by an individual in cash. But let me go back to what Senator asked about CBO and cooperatives. Previously, it was CBOs. That space was dominated by CBOs made up of people who scoop sand. And there didn't seem to be any order at all. But when we came in and enacted the KITU County River Basin Sand Utilization and Conservation Act 2024, we came up with cooperatives for each of the 5 river basins. And it is the cooperatives now will be responsible for really identify points where sand can be scooped. And if sand is scooped to a point where it is affecting the river basin environment, they are the ones who are supposed, working together with our ministry responsible for the environment, to ensure that it's stopped. So that's one thing, because the act itself is not so much about collecting revenue, but it's about conservation. Because as people of KITU, we don't want really a lot of sand harvesting, because it's going to affect our environment, but we want to conserve. But you can't stop sand harvesting. It has never been stopped by any country in the world. So it is the cooperatives now who are responsible. They are the ones who work with the sand groups of various areas, who designate certain areas within the the river basin where there will be sand aggregation points. And we will try to minimize or do away with the cooperatives which used to exist before, and where there was no order at all in the way they were doing things.
Now, honorable members, we need to find some closure and give recommendations. Senator Wambua?
Yes, Chair, thank you. So only 2 things. One, are the CBOs still collecting the money from the trucks, the 6,000? And secondly, whose responsibility will it be to restore the riverbed that have been destroyed by the sand harvesting? And lastly, this is a comment, because I've heard the governor say we cannot stop sand harvesting. Actually, that could be true. We can stop the destruction of our rivers, but we can ensure that sand harvesting goes on. But we do harvesting. You know, we don't do what we are doing now. And when those are cartels, and those cartels are known to a lot of us, when they hear you, governor, saying we cannot stop them, they start celebrating. Yeah, even the governor admitted they cannot stop us. You know, the basis of this conversation, Chair, I like making full disclosures on everything that I talk about, is I met one of those cartels at a public function. And in my presence, he said some very annoying things. That me, I do very bad business and nobody can stop me. You know these things. Oh, but that's beside here. So let's just know whether they are still paying to the CBOs, and then who will take responsibility for the restoration of our riverbeds.
Fine. Senator
30
Chirake,
seconds.
then get the governor.
Maybe, Chair, during our visit to the eastern part, we should visit even the weighbridge at Kanyonyo and here Mulolongo so that we get the facts. Because I can tell you, Chair, even in this traffic, you can spot 2-3 rollies with sun because brick and mortar. Governor, the Chair asked you about cartelism. Are you aware of cartels? Are you part of it? Do you know them? Can you point us where they are? I have not heard you deny. These sun cartels looks to be very powerful in Kitui. Are we part of them? Thank you, Chair. Yield back.
Governor, maybe you can make your response brief.
Very quickly, first, the CBOs have not been phased out completely because the cooperatives which came with the law, and the law was enacted just we enacted last year, it will take time before it kicks on fully. So they are still, particularly in some places, particularly in those Mwingi areas you talked about, Kiromboko area, and we hear they are there. Talking about who restores the river basins, it's now the responsibility of the cooperatives. Because as I said, this law, which we are referring to as Kitui County River Basins Sand Utilization and Conservation Act, is supposed to ensure conservation, and the responsibility for overseeing how the sand is harvested within a river basin is granted by the law to the cooperatives, and therefore they are the ones who will monitor the places where the sand is being harvested from. If it reaches a certain level, they close the place and they ensure restoration, including planting trees and including stopping people from collecting sand from there. The issue about cartels, do cartels exist? I won't deny that there are cartels. First of all, depending how we define a cartel in this particular instance. But if cartel means people who are doing business which is not regulated and who make sure there is no law and order. Previously, yes, there are cartels, but I can tell you they are on the run. Those who used to do business in Kitui because of the new law, and slowly and surely even enforcement and mechanisms you are putting in place. As I said, we have an enforcement unit which will be working in that space, and officers. We have posted some, but we will increase the number. And we have a court, a county court, which we have already constructed after discussing the same with the judiciary. And we hope it will be operationalized and the judiciary officers posted there. And if it's a lorry which is not properly licensed or is carrying sand from a river basin, then it can be arrested by the enforcement officers together with the national police and then charged in that particular court. And we think in the near term, I will not say short term, and I don't want to say long term, in the near term, we want to bring order in that space.
Okay, finally, Vice Chair.
I know the cartels would be there. Normally they are there, but they work at night. And these things are known, only that people don't want to nab them. But they work at night, they carry their sand at night, and they don't pay. It's there everywhere, even in Tetavet, it happens. Why? Because the people who are supposed to collect cess and the enforcement people just go home and leave this people to work.
A point of information to Senator Maroma. The ones in Kitui are very bold. They do it day and night.
Day and night.
They do it day and night. And so, Chair, because I have the mic, let me just say this in conclusion. And Governor, I hear what you've said about the restoration of the riverbeds by the cooperatives. I have a suggestion as a resident of Kitui and a person that has suffered this. Why not think about, because now you are rolling out the new law, why not think about every truck that will be registered to do sand business in Kitui, you attach a fee to the registration for the restoration of the already destroyed riverbeds, because if you have then cooperatives in places like Kiromboko, Enzio, Moania, Tiva, Edekeve, and maybe Kevo, those beds are already destroyed. So the cooperatives are coming to operate on a riverbed that's already destroyed. So expecting them to raise funds from wherever to restore the riverbeds will be expecting too much from the cooperatives. Why not use the law that exists now to make sure that every truck that is registered, there is a fee for restoration of riverbeds? I think.
Chair, 30 seconds.
Please, 30 seconds.
Chair, on these sand cartels, I was expecting the governor to deny, but it looks like sand cartels in Kitui are part of that DNA of that region. But my only concern is, Governor, you have not shown in a way that you are partnered with the maybe national government through the county security team to assist you in surveillance and also county enforcement officers to ensure these lorries that they call so cartels that transport sand, which is worth millions and billions of shillings that should have gone to development in Kitui. Is there a way you are partnering with the county security team to ensure that these people are arrested? The chair, the reason I'm passionate with Kitui is I'm in law in Kitui. And I don't want my nephews and uncles to suffer in Kitui because of poor development. So can he give us a global on how to address this problem once and for all?
Now, I think what we need to, and very good points and suggestions coming from senators, but we differentiate between issues of law and order, issues of policy, and issues of financial accountability. We are here primarily on issues of financial accountability. And the reason why we have had this conversation for the last 1 hour is that the revenues reported as cess by Kitui County government, they appear understated. 2 years ago, Kitui only reported 9.066 million as cess. 1 year ago, it grew to 15.5 million. And then last year, it dropped to 11.8 million. We have given you an opportunity to try to explain why that seesaw movement, but you have given us all the excuses in the world. It's very difficult to pin down the real cause of that oscillation on cess. It is the view and the position of this committee that revenues on cess needs thorough investigation.